This game might look like Mario, but it's not. There's a lot of myths and conspiracies around this game recently. And this one. Digimon, well, that's not really much of a conspiracy now, is it? We still stand Agumon though. When is inspiration taken too far? Just take a look at this. The difference is, you can judge for yourself. This video, we're gonna cover some of the craziest conspiracies around Nintendo's biggest franchises. What started as just fan jokes and theories have turned into much, much more. And why do they always seem to involve Nintendo? But it gets deeper. Infinity Nikki getting over 20 million pre-registrations. People saying this is supposed to be Mario x Zelda x Barbie. What? I gotta admit something, I've never tried Palworld, Astrobot, I'm going in blind. But when I heard the one key difference with this one is that one of the former directors of Breath of the Wild is working on it, I was like, okay, this is my breaking point. I gotta find out for real what this whole ordeal is all about. Is this all that it's cracked up to be? Off of my experience with one singular game, but that's just how things work nowadays. If we're gonna strip away all the bells and whistles, this coat of paint is what lies underneath, just a carbon copy of what Nintendo has done over 20 years ago. Because nowadays definitely aren't the first times we've seen stuff like this. It used to be a lot worse. Back in 1987, one company took inspiration to a whole new level. The Great Gianna Sisters was a game for the Commodore 64. The levels, enemies, even the gameplay were very suspiciously like something else that we've seen. And yeah, Nintendo thought so too. It's no real surprise that this game ended up getting pulled from the shelves. Even though times were a lot different back then in the games industry, people used to get away with a lot. But the funny part about this to me is that even though Nintendo actually won the legal case, that in turn ended up turning this game into a cult classic. The copies have gotten very, very valuable over the years. It's almost like the world just wanted to get their hands on a banned Mario game. And there were a ton of these things. Super Jump World, Menino, Princess Rescue, the list goes on. But one of the biggest modern Mario clone conspiracies is arising about this game, Astrobot. Sony's recent release of Astrobot gained a lot of praise. There was a lot of fans that really enjoyed this product, but it also sparked some debate. Fans have been split over whether it's a respectful homage to Nintendo's classic platformers or a bit too much. Side-by-side comparisons showing similarities between those in Mario Sunshine, Odyssey, Galaxy, even games like Splatoon. While some can claim it's a love letter, the phrase bar for bar might be pretty appropriate here. And this, along with another very prominent game which we're going to get to in a minute, have kind of revived this age-old discussion. Where is the fine line between inspiration and imitation? It got me wondering with my new playthrough, should people be wondering the same about Infinity Nikki? Infold Studios is developing this game, are obviously bringing a lot of people in with this concept and the visuals, but to me, the first thing that I really was interested in was the gameplay. And upon first impressions, I was impressed with how the power-ups of sorts were woven into the platforming mechanics. For instance, the speed boost upgrade doesn't just make you faster, it transforms how you approach platforming challenges, adding depth to a movement in a way that very much closely reminded me of how Mario 64 reshaped the genre back in the day. The mechanics felt fresh but familiar, bringing to mind the Astrobot comparisons that we've seen in the past. In Infinity Nikki, the journey revolves around collecting Whim Stars to unlock outfit upgrades, which act as the game's version of power-ups if you want to think of it that way. Whether you're exploring on your own or using Momo to help you track hidden Whim Stars, I love Momo, Infinity Nikki definitely has some inspiration from what I've seen so far, but there's definitely a lot of new as well. I don't think you really have to look too far to tell the difference. Does it blend the best elements of platformers, exploration, even a touch of creativity with dress-up mechanics? And man, with the way these outfits serve as power-ups, it was something I was skeptical about. After all, many games have tried to incorporate dress-up mechanics and have completely failed, often reducing them to just superficial features. However, Infinity Nikki managed to change my mind. Its outfits aren't just for show, they actually shape the way you play. For example, the first outfit that I got when playing the game was Bubbly Voyage, which not only enhanced Nikki's appearance, but also gives you the power to access new locations, making it a core part of exploration rather than just cosmetic afterthought. Now, in 2024, Nintendo also dropped something unexpected, Princess Peach Showtime. An actual Princess Peach game. Well, I mean, I guess we technically had one before. But the reason I wanted to bring this up is dress up plays a major role here too. Peach's miracle outfits give her special powers and help her navigate different worlds, making it easy to draw comparisons between this and Infinity Nikki. Have I figured it out? Infinity Nikki is just a ripoff of Princess Peach show? Well, I mean, it could also just be the case that they've both been in development at the same time and one is just releasing later than the other, but conspiracy theorists aren't going to have that. So what makes Infinity Nikki so different from these other dress-up games? And yeah, there have been many that haven't gotten it right. It's how they use these outfits as more than just visual upgrades. In my experience, dress-up mechanics in other games often can feel shallow or tacked on, but here they're integrated into the core gameplay. It's safe to say this one's pretty debunked. This isn't a case of imitation. Speaking of mistaken cases of imitation, this situation reminds me of the old Fossil Fighters conspiracy. Some fans thought Fossil Fighters ripped off Pokemon with its Mega Evolution mechanic, but it turns out to be impossible since the games were developed independently and even released at different times. These kinds of theories pop up all the time in the gaming community, but they often fall apart under scrutiny. But it doesn't seem to me for some reason that Fossil Fighters' alleged copy of Pokemon is the biggest case of this. It doesn't seem even close. The debate around Palworld has been loud, many calling it a blatant Pokemon ripoff, Nintendo's legal team even stepping in, claiming that Palworld's creatures are copies of iconic Pokemon designs. But is that really clear-cut? Sure, there's conspiracies out there, but I mean, just look at these games. I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say one wouldn't exist without the other. But there's a lot distinct with Palworld, a lot bringing in new people that maybe haven't played a traditional Pokemon game in a while. In the world of video games, borrowing elements seems almost unavoidable. Look at Yokai Watch. This game took over Japan in 2015. Kids thought it was cooler than Pokemon. It was inspired by it, the catching, the creatures, but the vibe is totally different. And if we dig more into the specifics, Palworld's gameplay isn't that close to Pokemon either. It's more of a chaotic blend of crafting, shooting, survival mechanics. To the whole rip-off argument, yeah, something takes inspiration, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a carbon copy. The legal system's gonna play out with that one. What about with Infinity Nikki? Some may be quick to make assumptions, but when they first see the game's monsters thinking it might resemble a Pokemon clone, trust me, it's not. As I've played through, the vibe here is even further removed than something like Yokai Watch. In fact, the way that Infinity Nikki handles the creatures is something that actually sets it apart. It reminds me of some things that we've seen in a game like Legends Arceus with the crafting and all that, but here it's woven into the game's core. You don't just collect or battle monsters, you purify them, transforming these encounters into moments of discovery and creativity. And as if that wasn't enough, there's Momo's camera, where you can take pictures with your little companion. All these elements make for a gameplay experience that feels fresh, offering tons of variety and style challenges. It's clear that while some may see the surface level similarities to other games, Infinity Nikki is carving out its own unique space, blending fashion, adventure, and charm in a way that I've really seen no other game do. Another classic Nintendo series that's faced clone conspiracies is Animal Crossing. Games like Stardew Valley come in, often getting labeled as knockoffs of Animal Crossing. Both games have a shared charming aesthetic and lighthearted activities, but they each carve their own paths. Stardew Valley focuses on farming, crafting, and building relationships within a rural community. Animal Crossing centers around creating a lively village, connecting with its anthropomorphic inhabitants. It's more about how these games embrace similar themes while delivering vastly different experiences. Again, inspiration, not imitation. So, does Infinity Nikki tap into that same cozy vibe? And does it do it while still remaining different? I'd say yeah. The dust outfit allows you to groom the animals, some feeling more comfortable with Nikki while others are more skittish and run off. There's bug catching mechanics, which we've seen in other games as well. One of my favorite activities to try, have to try a few times, was the Rippling Serenity fishing minigame, which is just another crazy aspect of this game. Fishing has always been a fun and relaxing activity in games. It's been great to see it featured in this one, and we've seen a lot of untraditional franchises bring this in as a mechanic, encouraging players to unwind while still engaging with the game's mechanics. Plus, the attention to detail here is impressive. When you shake a tree to gather materials in this game, the physics make the items realistically roll down the hills as if you're standing on one. It's kinda cool, it adds some immersion. Bringing this all full circle to this Animal Crossing thing, one of the most refreshing elements I've seen in Infinity Nikki is the daily wishes system, providing you a daily incentive to log in and play. This not only keeps the gameplay engaging, but also encourages a sense of routine that can be kind of comforting. It looks like there's going to be special events held as well, adding to the excitement and keeping the community alive over time. It'll be interesting to see where that goes. But there's one big series I haven't covered yet, and it's one I've been really wondering about: The Legend of Zelda. This iconic series has faced its fair share of clone conspiracies over the years. For example, Okami was often seen as a Zelda clone due to its art style and gameplay mechanics, leading to debates about its originality. And there's Alundra, which not only mirrored Zelda's puzzle-solving elements, but also introduced its own unique narrative, resulting in fans questioning if it was merely a tribute or an outright ripoff. There's a lot of controversy in the past. How is Infinity Nikki gonna fare? This time with a former director of Breath of the Wild on their staff, the microscope's got to be turned up. But in terms of what I thought after playing through, Infinity Nikki manages to carve out its own identity while still borrowing inspiration from various beloved series. And this includes Zelda. Sometimes you just get a feel when playing something, and I kind of felt some Breath of the Wild vibes to this game. In this case, I think a former director of a game that bears some similarities being involved is actually a good thing for the originality aspect. Who else better at helping you innovate and create something more original, still containing some of the aspects that you love, than someone who helped create the original in the first place? It adds a layer of authenticity, but also the creativity is still there. Infinity Nikki has this electrician outfit, which serves as a fantastic nod to the puzzle-solving mechanics found in Zelda titles. The outfit allowing players to fix things in their environment, seamlessly integrating challenges that echo the dungeon-like experiences from various games in the series. There's even more minigames where you have to locate star-shaped items hidden around you. Some challenging, some more accessible, some exploration-based. There's really options for everyone here. There's separate puzzle rooms that act like dungeons filled with chests and many collectibles to obtain. But the big aspect of this about Infinity Nikki that really shines out to me out of anything is its open world design. You can choose to fast travel to skip the journey or hop on the bike to explore the world at your leisure. This blend of familiar mechanics with innovative gameplay doesn't make Infinity Nikki another clone of things we've seen in the past, but instead a unique adventure that celebrates the essence of gaming while inviting you to enjoy its distinct charm. I've taken away one thing in particular from this. It's very easy, especially nowadays, to label a game as a Nintendo clone, especially when so many titles draw inspiration from the rich legacy of Nintendo's insanely influential franchises. This goes back to a big life philosophy question about art, the inspiration behind it, and the future impact that it creates. After all, isn't every piece of art inspired by something? Instead of focusing solely on comparisons and competition, perhaps we should appreciate each game for what it brings to the table, and the unique experiences that it alone offers. Each title has the potential to evoke joy, nostalgia, and creativity in ways that resonate with us personally. So let's celebrate the creativity in gaming, and the myriad of adventures waiting for us, regardless of where they come from. I appreciate Infold Games for providing me with a demo of Infinity Nikki to try for this video, but I gotta be completely honest here. This game turned from something I was hearing some buzz about, I didn't really know the deal, but actually getting to try it completely blew any expectations I had for it out of the water. I'm really excited to see how it continues to evolve. It's genuinely become one of my most anticipated games. It's really a special experience I encourage anyone to try. If you want to join me and others to pre-register the game, there's a link in the description below. We delved into some controversies today. If you're interested in seeing some more, click the link on screen. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.